Well, in 2004, Apacheland burned to the ground.
Where would I put that?
And Mrs. Schillerman, who is now Mrs. Birmingham, Sue Birmingham, donated the chapel to us, the Elvis Presley chapel that was used in Charo. And in that film, they moved the chapel almost 100 yards closer to town and then put it back where it was. They put a fake steeple on it and blew it up with the cannon and all that sort of thing. We were given 60 days to remove anything out of Apacheland that we wanted. We started stripping the outside off the chapel, board by board. We really didn't have to mark them because the boards, with the slope of the roof, the boards were each a different length and they had to go right back on where they came off. And many people that knew the town well were looking at old pictures they had and said, well, even the knot holes are right where they used to be, you know. And so Hank Brown and I were mostly responsible. We both had boom trucks. And of course I had a flatbed trailer. And a little later I asked her about the barn and she donated the barn to the museum. So for the next 60 days, that's all we did, was out there tearing everything down, and we were very careful about how we did it. With the boom trucks, we were able to take all the trusses down out of the barn and transport them over to the museum, and we just had big piles of stuff all over the museum grounds. We were working on the stamp mill when all this started, and we had to stop the work with the stamp mill. The chapel was so poorly constructed, it was just, no two 2x4s were the same distance apart, you know. It was horrible. We decided that we couldn't really salvage anything except the front foyer that we took off in one piece, the steeple we took off in one piece using a huge forklift from the contractor that was building the new museum. The rest of it we just pretty well abandoned. Even the roofing had been coated over with tar to stop leaks and stuff. It just so much stuff it wasn't salvageable that we rebuilt the chapel with all new framing. And then we put the skin back on it and the steeple and the foyer and all that type of stuff. The barn was on 24-inch centers on the rafters, and we created 12 new rafters to bring it back to 16 inches because the barn roof had collapsed at one time and it all caved in on itself and they had to rebuild it, but it was still on 24-inch centers. And the uprights, we used telephone poles that they had out in the parking lot. They were almost new, and we used telephone poles for the uprights. So that barn's gonna last forever. And the steeple only had 3 spikes holding it on. I don't know how some of these summer windstorms kept from blowing that steeple off of there. But we put that back on with heavy 3/4-inch bolts. And I tell you, if a tornado comes along and takes that chapel, that steeple's gonna stay up there. Everything was put back just as strong as we could make it and to last as long as we could. And so we put that thing up with just volunteer labor. That one guy was out there one day from one of the trailer courts. He's a winter visitor, and he wanted to help. And we got 7 guys out of his court that came out and helped put all this stuff back together. And that's the story of reconstructing Apacheland at the Superstition Mountain Museum.
Thank you for watching this episode of Mysteries of the Superstition Mountains.